Hello and welcome back to the channel. If you know about this channel, you already know that all the videos on this channel are about making life easier, simpler, and performing better. Let's get straight into it because it is quite a complicated matter in terms of balancing when do you pay off the mortgage or do you invest the money? Or at what point when you are paying off the mortgage do you switch to starting your investment portfolio? So there are a lot of elements and components to consider. It can be relatively complicated, but we can get to a pretty simple decision. Now, I'll go into a little bit more detail in another video, but let's go through a couple of things first that you need to consider. Firstly is basically your personality. Are you a spender or are you a saver? If you are a saver, are you really good at saving or paying down debt really quickly? Because that needs to be factored in. So we'll bring that back into play in a moment. Okay, typically, if you've got a mortgage, and let's say, just for simplicity's sake, we're talking about a mortgage where you're paying off $1,000 a fortnight. So of that, $800 is interest, $200 is coming off the principal. And now you're considering, when do you start your investment fund? And this is a question I asked years ago and someone couldn't answer it for me. So what I did is I simply got aggressive, paid off the mortgage, and then went into investing. But there is a point where you can start, but we need to determine where that point is. When does the mortgage get boiled down to a point where we want to flick into investing? Right, so let's go back to that scenario. $1,000 a fortnight, $800 is in interest, and $200 is in principal. Now, if that's the case, if your interest is about 80% of your payment and your principal is about 20%, then unquestionably, you'd want to be putting money in your mortgage. You need to burn that down. Even if your mortgage rate is 3%, this is where a lot of people get this wrong. If your mortgage rate is 3%, but you might be able to earn 7% in shares, but if you're experiencing that split, that 80-20 between the interest and the principal, then you're not comparing 3% to 7%. It's only 3% of what you pay off in that year, and all the other money you still need to pay over subsequent years, say it's a 25-year mortgage. That's going to be compounding the 3% over and over. So those last dollars you pay off, which would be those dollars that you've invested in an investment, those are the ones that are at 3%, but 3% compounding over 25 years. So you can't compare 7%, say you save $1,000 and you invest that and you're getting 7% and you think you're up. You're not, because that $1,000 you could have paid off your mortgage is going to be the last $1,000. So that's going to be sitting at 3% and it's going to be incurring 3% year after year after year, compounding 3% on 3% on 3%. So there does become a point where you start to break it down. The other thing too is, if that $1,000 you were going to invest, if you paid that off your mortgage, so say your bank had a penalty rate where if you invested that $1,000 into your mortgage, but they penalized you, or I don't know what let's say it's $100, then you're up. You're up by a long way, because it's costing you $800 every time you pay off $200. So if you can pay $1,000, just looking at your normal fortnightly payments, you can multiply what you're paying in interest by 5. 200 times 5 gives you your $1,000 lump, which is what you've got. What you pay on interest on that right now over your subsequent fortnightly payments is your $800 times 5, which is $4,000. So if your bank has a penalty payment and it's much less than what you're paying proportionally for the principal against the interest, you would pay it off. Because if you paid $1,000 and say your bank charged you $100 to do that, to take that $1,000 off, that is such a better proportion than you're experiencing at the moment, which is 80% interest, 20% principal. This way, it's about 90% principal, 10% interest. So why would you not do that? That's much better payoff, because every time you pay off $200, you're saving that $800. And then you're going to get to the point where your interest and your principal payments are the same amount. So you're paying off your $1,000, but it's $500 to interest, $500 to principal. Now you're starting to get to the point where you could consider getting an investment. But I'd say not yet, not yet. At that point, your principal payments as a proportion of your overall payment will start to go up considerably, much faster than you had it earlier. When you'd look, and I'm going to oversimplify it, but big bang, this is it. This is what you're thinking of. This is what will help you make that determination. But as I say, I'll do another video later with more detail. But here's your determination of when you might start investing. Okay, firstly, if you are an aggressive saver, or better still, you're aggressive at paying off your mortgage. So you like the idea, even if you're making penalty payments and paying penalty fees, getting on top of your mortgage super fast, then this is the first point where you might consider an investment. And this relates to you because of your mindset. If you're not this type of person, I'd recommend you wait till later. The first point is when the amount you're about to invest is the same amount left on your mortgage. So if you've got $50,000 less left to pay off, and you want to invest $50,000, then you could consider that. Now remember, where's that $50,000 sitting? Because you should be paying off your mortgage with that. So that means what you're going to do at that stage is you'll have to take a loan against your mortgage, which makes your mortgage $100,000. So that's to have your $50,000 invested, and then your $100,000 to pay off. If you're not comfortable, and that would be the soonest you'd look at it, the absolute soonest, when what you're about to invest is going to be the same as what you've got in your mortgage before you make that investment. And even then, I'd recommend you don't pick your shares, you put it in a diversified portfolio, and it's still big risk because you can only invest what you are prepared to lose. So that money becomes vulnerable. At that point, and that would be the earliest point you'd look at doing it, then depending on your propensity to save and all that, the points come later on. Also, if you want to invest in specific shares, higher risk, again, later on, meaning when you get the mortgage down to 10,000 or even zero. That's what I did. I got my mortgage down to almost zero. Then I took a $50,000 loan and I invested that. And then I paid off that loan, which was my mortgage, got that extra 50. So almost to zero, $50,000 mortgage, put that into the investments, and then went straight into it. Now I jumped in straight after 2009, after the financial crash of 2008. But there were still earthquakes happening in the financial market in 2009. So my $50,000 shrunk to something like $42,000 pretty quickly. Bounced back, of course, and over subsequent years has done really well. But the reason why I did that is because I know I'm super aggressive at paying off loans. I don't like having loans. I've only had really two in my life, and that has been my mortgage and a hire purchase on a washing machine. And even then, the hire purchase was over about, 20 payments, and I paid it off on the second one because I just didn't like it. So I've been pretty much a cash buyer all my life. So if I really want something, save up for it, away you go. But that's me, that's my mindset. And if you have that same mindset, then wait till your mortgage is down fairly low, add to the mortgage, and then go. If that's not you, if you're not someone who likes to burn away a loan as fast as possible, like you throw all your extra, the money you're able to save every week over top of your expenses, if you prefer to have that as discretionary sort of spending, then that's not you. But if you're the sort of person that would rather take that extra money and put it right against your mortgage to burn it away, then you could be the type of person that would be suited to take out money against your mortgage and invest that in investments. If you're not, kill off your mortgage first, get on top of it, then start saving up. And once you've got the minimum you need to open a portfolio, which by and large is about $1,000 these days, depending on the portfolio. But yeah, usually you can enter the market on a diversified portfolio for $1,000. Save up that $1,000 first, then go in and then start putting money towards it. But it all comes down to discipline. That's it. That gives you a bit of guidance right at the start and when you might make that decision. But it is generally, it's much later than you think. If you've got a $200,000 mortgage and you've got $100,000 investments and you're paying that mortgage off in a standard rate, being, you know, your normal fortnightly payments over 15 or 20 or 25 years, you're burning yourself just doing the maths on it. You can't compare the 7% you might be getting in your investment against the 3% in your mortgage, because it doesn't work that way. It does once the size of each are the same. 50,000 in your mortgage, 50,000 in investments. If you're getting 7% in your investment, 3% in your mortgage, boom, you're golden. But if you've got a $250,000 mortgage and you're paying 3% on that and you're getting 7% on a $50,000, then those $50,000 would do way more in the mortgage, at least in changing the proportionality between what you're paying in interest and what you're paying in principal. Okay, that's the flavor. I can get into it a bit deeper. As I say, there's some elements, both mathematical and to do with your mindset, we need to be conscious of. And there are quite a few elements, but that doesn't make it overly tricky. It just means we need to know where we're at with each of those elements to help us make a decision. But as I say, think about how much you'd like to have invested over the next couple of years. And if it's 20,000, by and large, then don't even think about that until your mortgage is down to the last 20,000 or thereabouts. Okay, that's it. Catch up with you in the next one. Thanks for hanging around. You know what to do. Subscribe, like, all of that good stuff. I love it when you do that. Thank you so much. That's all I need. And then, yeah, if this information means something to you, and it should, financially, it should save you huge amounts of money, then, yeah, just click in a like and we're even. No dramas. Of course, speak to others. Don't take what I'm saying as financial advice because it is fairly generic. I don't know your situation. If you have any specific questions, though, throw them in the comments below and I'll answer them as well as I can to help out. All right, catch you in the next video.